While we were here, I wondered, when we see 6, I would think this can't be happening to him. I can't lose him. He's my baby. He got this fever on a Wednesday evening. Thursday night, it spiked up to 103.6 on the thermometer. I was like, ugh, I've never seen that number on a thermometer. So, not good. Gave him some ibuprofen and we went to bed. And that night, he could not sleep. He was writhing around in pain, stomach pain, complaining about his stomach. And the next morning, he wouldn't even walk. And so I was thinking like, oh, maybe this is like his appendix. So we came down here and through the emergency department, they were like, well, his appendix is fine, but he has a little bit of pneumonia and a small fluid buildup around his lung. And so they said, we're gonna admit him and watch him, see how he does. And he's just becoming like more and more in distress. And he's like, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And they said, we need to intubate him. The doctor finally came out in the waiting room and said, so we have him intubated, but when we did that, he went into cardiac arrest. We got him back with the first round of compressions and pushed fluids, but as soon as the fluid dissipates, so does he. And this has happened 5 times. So this isn't sustainable. Those were the exact words. It made me feel like my son was dying. They said his only hope is to get him on the ECMO machine. So I was like, do whatever you have to do. Like, please, please, please just get him on that machine. The ECMO machine was pumping all the blood for his heart, and then the ventilator was doing all the work for his lungs. So basically, when he was in the PICU and he couldn't breathe and everything was going downhill, he was going into septic shock. How can something go from 0 to 100 so quickly? So then he was in that ECMO room for 4 days, paralyzed, sedated. You don't know what's gonna happen. It was the scariest 4 days of my life. Then they say, numbers are starting to look good. We're gonna lift his paralytic to see if he can respond. So they did that, and you could talk to him, and he could respond with his right thumb. And they said, something's concerning. We're gonna take him for the MRI. And then that's when they confirmed that he had had the large stroke on his right side of his brain, and then several small ones on the left side. We've gone through cardiac arrest, respiratory failure, the ECMO, and now we have a large stroke. They were worried about where the stroke was in his brain and what it would affect. I was like, they've saved his life. Anything that comes beyond this, we're just gonna have to deal with. He's in this hospital bed, and I was like, oh, I wish I could get in bed and snuggle with you. And he cleared his throat and said, do it. So I was like, oh God, he's speaking again. Like, he really can talk. Every 12 hours, 24 hours, something would come back for him. Carson could move his foot, and then he could move his whole leg. And then he got his left side smile back. Later, he could move his hand and his fingers and his arm. He worked really hard with Miss Mary in PT and Miss Carol and in OT, and he literally regained everything from his left side. So now we're talking, now we're moving our whole left side again. We finally get him up and relearning how to walk. And we would be doing laps around the nurse's station, or even down to the second floor. He liked to go see that blue car from West Her. And so it was just amazing to see. They had him walking with a walker. By the end of the walk, he's like, I don't need this. And he just started walking. We came in on March 1st, and he walked out of this hospital all by himself on March 30th. It couldn't have turned out any better than it has. He regained full heart function. He has no deficits in his heart function. His lungs cleared up and they're perfectly fine. Neurologically, he has no deficits. And he was like, Mom, can I go to the fun run? And I was like, well, we have to get you back to school. They're not just gonna let you go to the fun run. And he's like, okay, I wanna go back to school. He was able to go back to school on May 7th in order to get to that fun run, at the end of the week. He made it the full day. He went to his first baseball game, and he's hitting the ball and running to the bases, literally 1 month after being in cardiac arrest. I literally cannot say enough good things about every single person we came into contact with. From the nurses, to the doctors, to the respiratory therapists, my worries, they really did a great job of making sure I was okay as well. One doctor that I questioned several times, like, how did this happen? How did this happen? He said, he's here today because he was here when things were bad. Thank goodness we were here. That was another thing that kept going through my mind. I can't imagine, what if we didn't live in a city that had a hospital such as this, that had the equipment that could save his life? Literally, without that machine, I wouldn't have my son.